You know, there's no preamble. I'm just gonna talk openly. First and foremost, I'm under the weather a little bit, so you'll have to excuse the way my voice sounds. I kind of feel like 50 Cent in his movie. After he got shot and he was healing and he couldn't sing that well because he was like, my voice is different. That's how I feel. Anyway, I'm gonna go get some medicine because I'm sick. But I felt that I wanted to have a conversation with all of you while I'm at it. I couldn't find a proper way to place this camera based off of the GPS holder that I have, so this is the angle that we're gonna get. So hopefully the audio makes up for the awkward visual angle. Now, with that said, I was thinking, a long time ago, I got into the Manosphere. It was back in 2017, I believe. That's when I first got immersed in this world, so to speak, right? I remember I had a fight with my then girlfriend at the time, who is now my ex, and the fight was silly. It was over me wanting to create content because I was working at a soulless job that I hated, and she wanted me to come over and spend time with her. Now, I didn't have an issue doing that, but I kind of wanted to just record some content, honestly, only because I desperately wanted to get out of the current situation that I was in, right? And she told me, yeah, that's okay, no worries. And then I didn't think anything of it. I proceeded to go do my work. And shortly after that, she messaged me and said, no, it wasn't okay. But she told me that it was previously. So what suddenly happened? What changed? And mind you, this is not a knock to her. She's a good person. I don't think she's bad at all. But at that time, I was confused. I was even perplexed. I was wondering to myself, why is it that I was told that it was okay when it wasn't? It bothered me, safe to say. And the reason it bothered me again was because I thought that we had settled it. So what did I do? I did what any rational male would do. And I went on the internet. I went on Google and I typed in, why doesn't she say what she means? And you best believe a plethora, a cornucopia of Manospherian content came out. Sandman came out, TFM came out, Richard Cooper, Rollo Tomasi, all these dudes, like some of the OGs, Stardust, Barbarossa, all of them, they all came out. And I started listening to the content, and I was thinking to myself, wow, I feel like these people resonate with me. They understand what my plight, because I'm here thinking that I'm just a horrible boyfriend. Am I that bad? Am I selfish for wanting to, build a better life for myself after being previously in a job that I was quite frankly miserable? And I wasn't. My biases were all confirmed that day. And suddenly I got sucked up into what is now colloquially referred to as the Manosphere. Now, the Manosphere had some really good content back then. I always felt like it was sort of a, lessons I wish I would have known kind of deal. They were revealing this veil that was covering my eyes all these years. I was being red-pilled, quote unquote. And it helped a lot. I learned a lot about myself with the videos that were out during the time. They were insightful. They were even inspiring. And little by little, I started to notice a disturbing trend. And the trend was that all of the useful information was out there already. You could only have so much of it. This is probably not a good spot for me to be stuck in. Hold on. All the useful information was out already. So what ended up happening? They started getting more, what I like to say, radicalized. Now, every group does that, by the way. I want to make sure that everyone is aware of this. I don't think the Manosphere is inherently evil. I think the Manosphere, at the very least, initially stood with good intentions. The intentions were basically don't get played, self-improvement, make your money, make yourself your own mental point of origin, make sure that you live a good life, and make sure that you don't get played. Those were the key tenets that I got out of it initially, and of course, in this world, unfortunately, if you're not entertaining, if you don't throw some zest in there, what ends up happening? People stop watching you. So I believe that over time, it purposely is getting more radicalized because they need it to be radicalized, because then they won't have anyone buy their courses. No one will buy the books. Nobody will support them in the way that they had previously been supporting them. These are disenfranchised men. I need you to know this. We talk a lot about women's issues, and we talk about how to help women a lot, but there's not a lot of information on how to help men out there. Or there is, but it gets sprinkled in with, radicalism, as well as the same thing with women. It happens on both sides. We need each other. We should not be adversarial towards each other. Now, for a while, I started feeling like I kind of was becoming that, because I was getting sucked up in this world that I just discovered. You got to remember, this was a brand new world, right? So with a brand new world comes new opportunity, and comes new storylines, new people to get to know. Just all these compelling stories that I was hearing, they were really interesting. But I'm starting to notice a disturbing trend, and I'm starting to feel as if I'm not really sure if the manosphere is good for young men anymore, and hashtag not all, obviously, because there's some pretty good content creators out there that actually have like deep and compelling content. They schedule their things out, they structure their arguments, they have their citations, and they give good, genuine information. I myself became a podcaster that started being lumped in with the manosphere, and I kind of didn't like that, so I ended up trying to separate myself a little more from it, because I just wanted to make content about things I wish I knew when I was younger. Sort of like if you're speaking to like your nephew or your niece, and they're having like a hard day at school, maybe they got bullied or something like that, and the solution, the answer, you have that Carl Winslow moment, where you get to like talk to them and tell them the right thing, and all is well, or at least the process of healing can begin for those particular individuals. That's what I wanted, that's what I craved, and I started doing that. Now, that doesn't get views, of course. I have to be radical, I have to say ridiculous things in order for me to get attention, which I don't want to do. And this isn't an attack on the manosphere. I want everybody to know that. This is just an understanding that I think we've reached a point of no return, and I think an updating of your belief systems have to start beginning to happen after a while. And the manosphere is no different. You have to evolve with the times. The same thing you said back in 2017 might not necessarily apply in 2024, which we're in now. And I guess I want to like it more. I want to watch more of the content. There are some really good things you can learn from it. I learned a lot about confidence. I learned a lot about working out. You know what I mean? Focusing on myself, learning more, trying something difficult. These are all things that I got from the manosphere. So I don't think it's inherently evil. But I do think that it's starting to kind of go the way of the dodo, so to speak. It's starting to be radicalized towards a point where no one wants to be associated with it anymore. A lot of content creators that previously were associated with it don't even want to affiliate themselves. Then you break into subcategories. You have black pillars, blue pillars, white pillars, purple pillars. There's so many damn pills, right? Excuse me. I did say I was a little sick. Anyway, there's so many pills. And you can only swallow so many pills before you overdose. I think that's a pretty good metaphor. Wow, that is. I'm going to keep that. I'm not editing this. This is just my honest, raw thoughts. So there's not going to be any quick cuts, any quick edits, none of that stuff. Just me honestly speaking to you. And I really want things to improve for everyone, for men and women alike, because I genuinely believe that if we came together instead of being adversarial with each other, we could be so much better. We can evolve and upgrade the human race to something spectacular. We can reach the heights of the heavens. We could rise from the ashes like a phoenix. But a lot of us tend not to do that because we found out a quick way to capitalize men's suffering. And that, my friends, is called the manosphere. It started with good intent, but just like anything that starts with good intentions, sometimes they're stolen. And once they're stolen, you don't always recover. Sometimes you go deeper into that rabbit hole and become, I would even say, borderline insane. Now, again, this is not everyone, because I don't believe that's the case. But you have to really take a step back and really introspect and really see what it is that you're doing. Why is it that you feel the need to immerse yourself so much in this content without putting any actual utility and practice to it? I said this at the beginning of the video. You've learned everything you can. All the knowledge is out there already. You have to maybe recycle it and say it in a different way, you know, maybe add some more pizzazz, some flair. But all the fundamentals are there. Your Maslow's hierarchy of needs are essentially met with the information that's provided to you. So what do we do now? How do we move forward? How do we get to the point where the Manosphere is no longer demonized and made into these supervillains? Can it even be saved? Do you want it to be saved? Do you think it should burn and something else should be created? I want to know. I'm curious. Because let's face it, it's not going anywhere, obviously. And you can't really destroy anything. Destruction is a form of creation. If you burn a paper, it becomes ash, and then it flies into the wind, and it still exists in a faint form, but it's still there. So you can never really destroy an idea. You can censor it, but you can't get rid of it. So I think the best thing to do is let's start having real, like, honest conversations again. Let's stop being so adversarial with each other. There's so much anger and rage that I see, and I understand why. Again, I don't want to come from a place of misunderstanding, because I felt that way too. I felt the anger, and that's why I know what it feels like. So I know what it is when I see it. I've had those feelings of not understanding why things are the way that they are and wondering why my lot in life isn't better, you know? But I did have to look at myself in the mirror and say, yo, I'm a fucking piece of shit, and I need to make a real change. And I think we should all focus on making change. You can't stick to the same thing forever. No matter how much you look at these videos, at some point you have to apply the positives to it. You know, ignore the negatives, apply the positives, and move on with the rest of your life. Because if all you ever do is read and watch and don't put anything into practice, then you're just masturbating. That's all you're doing. You're not doing anything of any real worth and value. That's why a lot of these times, and again, this is not to like crap on content creators, but the ones that are the most salacious often don't have any real insightful things to say. And that's the reason that they go for the what would be called red meat. The red meat exists because there's nothing else that can be said. You run out of ideas. You run out of utility to the world. Not you as a person. You as a person have intrinsic value to this world. But some of the ideas that are portrayed out there are so insane that I don't know how you just on a common sense level can't see how insane they are sometimes. We live in the real world, and let's face it, no matter how many videos you see out there of, you know, them putting like women in their place and doing all this stuff, they don't do any of that stuff in the real world. Like, let's face it, none of that stuff works in the real world. In the real world, they would get canceled. They would have other men come to their defense, and they wouldn't say anything, because it's easy to record a video the way I'm doing it right now from the comfort of my own vehicle, right? But it's hard to put these things into practice. Again, doing things are a lot harder than merely reading about them or seeing them on a video. Anyway, I feel like I'm harping on way too long about this particular topic. I just had these thoughts that I wanted to get out there while I'm sick and I'm driving to get my medicine. And after that, I have to look for parking, which will probably take me another 15-20 minutes, because I am not a rich alpha male. I am just a guy. I'm a human being with a real job, with real problems, just like everybody else is. So let's try to be a little kinder to ourselves. Let's take care of each other. Let's try to work together instead of severing the ties that bond us together. All right, guys. With that said, I've been your boy, NeoStarling. If you feel like you got any value from this video, please feel free to give it a like, comment, share, subscribe, do the damn thing, help a brother out. If you hated it and you thought I was full of crap and you think I don't know what I'm talking about at all, feel free to tell me. Hit the dislike button. That counts as an engagement, you know, so you're still participating. But with that said, you're all awesome, and don't ever let anyone tell you different. Signing off.